Hey guys, my name's Alana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mental Health with Alana. If you're new here, please press the red subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also press the bell notification so you know every time I post a video. If you want to check out my Instagram, I'll put it up here on the screen. This is my Instagram. I post on there pretty regularly. I post posts about mental health and disability, chronic illness, and I also post on my story a lot. So if you'd like to go check that out, then please do. So today I'm going to be talking about the difference between bipolar and BPD. So everyone gets quite confused between these two disorders. People get very confused between them because they often have similar, well, they can look similar, but they're actually not. So first off, with starting with BPD, what's BPD? BPD is a personality disorder that's in the category of B classification of personality disorders. This is a personality disorder, which means it's pervasive and it affects all areas of your life. Now, there is 9 criteria. I'm not going to go into detail about all the criteria because I have made other videos on this topic. You can check my channel. I made a lot of videos on BPD, but basically you have to meet 5 of the 9 criteria to be diagnosed with BPD. Now, with bipolar, to be diagnosed with bipolar 1, you have to have a manic episode, and you don't have to have a depressive episode. You just need one manic episode that lasts anywhere between a week to, it could be like a months. It depends on your bipolar disorder. Bipolar 2, you get something called hypomania, and you also get depression. So hypomania is a different form of mania. It's not as, I'm trying to think of the right word, because I'm not going to say it's not as bad, because I know people who live with type 2 and it's rough and like it's hard still, but it's not as elevated as or intense as bipolar 1 or extreme. Extreme would be the right word, not as extreme. So I live with schizoaffective disorder bipolar type. So this means I have a mixture of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. If I was diagnosed solely with bipolar, it would be bipolar type 1. But because I've got the psychotic features, like the psychosis going on, outside of a manic or depressed episode, that is when it goes into schizoaffective disorder territory, and that's a whole nother thing. I've also got a schizoaffective disorder playlist on my channel where I made a lot of videos talking about schizoaffective disorder, what it is, what it's like living with it, what I've experienced with hallucinations and psychosis, story videos, a bunch of things. So if you want to know more about that, go check that out. Sorry, I'm just finishing my cup of tea because it's going cold. So the main differences, if you look at bipolar in general versus BPD, I would say the main thing is with BPD, you have mood swings that are very up and down, but they happen very fast and they change quite quickly. So within a day, you can go from being sad to really angry, anger outbursts, to sad again, to then really happy, like over the top happy. Like it can just be all over the place, and it's just like the person is just like really moody and like on a roller coaster. So I've actually got BPD as well as the bipolar. So this is why I can kind of talk to this, because I can recognize now what's BPD and what is bipolar. With bipolar, you get mood episodes and mood swings, but the episodes are drawn out over a longer period of time. So, by the way, I'm no professional. I'm just explaining from what I know about my illnesses and like what I've learned. Just wanted to clarify that there. So with bipolar, for instance, say you have a hypomanic episode. This episode might go for 3 or 4 days. So it's a longer period of time where you're feeling hyperactive, energetic, flight of ideas, racing thoughts, grandiosity. What else is there? There's so many symptoms of bipolar hypomania, but you get the gist. So you basically are impulsivity. And the impulsivity is a big thing because it can be mistaken as BPD, which I'll talk on later. But so, and then with mania, it's basically like the same thing, but elevated and with longer period of time. Like you can have it from, I mean, I've had manic episodes that have lasted 3 to 4 weeks. Because I wasn't properly like medicated and I didn't know my disorder very well. Generally that doesn't happen to me anymore. I don't really get full-on mania anymore. I just get like hypomania. So with bipolar, you have also periods of depression, but again, you have to be depressed for like at least 2 weeks. So what I'm getting at is with BPD, the mood changes happen very fast and very quickly and don't stay the same for a long period of time. With bipolar, the mood swings and the mood episodes have to last for a certain amount of time, and you have to, if you're depressed, you have to be depressed basically majority of the time. If you're hypomanic, you have to be hypomanic majority of the time. If you're manic, you have to be manic majority of the time. So as you can see, it's very like drawn out and very constant. I mean, you might have a day or two where you're not hypomanic or you're not depressed, but for the most part, it's very consistent. At least for me, it's always been very consistent. Whenever I've had a depressive episode, I've never just had one day where I'm randomly like really happy and my depression is like gone for 2 days. Like I'm depressed. Like when I'm depressed, I'm depressed. I recently just had a depressive episode and now I think I'm currently in a bit of a hypomanic episode. So I was actually going to ask for my antidepressant to be increased, but now because it's swung the opposite way and I'm a bit hypomanic, I don't think that's a very good idea because they're going to be like, no, that's going to send you into full-on mania. Like you're already very hypomanic right now. But I've got to get the psychiatrist's opinion. This is just from me tracking my moods and, figuring it out. But that's another thing that you can do to figure out whether things are looking more like BPD or bipolar is to keep a mood diary. I always say this in every video on bipolar or BPD. Keep a mood diary. Track your moods. There is an app that's for bipolar called eMoods. It is the best app. It tracks all bipolar symptoms and psychosis. It's really easy to use. This is not sponsored, by the way. I wish I was. But I'll put a picture of it up here on the screen. Or I'll just write like the name of the app. But eMoods is so good because you can track your depressive episodes, your hypomanic episodes, your manic episodes, and you can kind of rate how high it is and how severe it is and stuff like that. And then it puts it into a graph, which isn't helpful for me because I don't understand graphs very well. They just look like a foreign language, but my learning disorder comes in there. But yeah, for most people it's probably helpful, but I keep the graph because I can show the healthcare professional. This is like when I go to my next psychiatrist appointment, I can be like, so we know what we're dealing with. I can be like, look, okay, for 2 weeks I've tracked that I've been severely depressed, and then now I've tracked for, I would say the last 4 days I've been hypomanic. And I've been tracking that there. So they can see like a immediate switch from being depressed to hypomanic, and they can see clearly how long it's gone on for, how bad it was, the symptoms and everything. So that's why I'm talking about this app, is because it's been really helpful for me, and it's really helpful to show doctors so they can actually see a pattern. So with bipolar, it comes in patterns and episodes, whereas BPD is very all over the shop. It's very all over the place. It doesn't often follow any sort of pattern. You can just be feeling one way, then feeling another way the next. I can differentiate between bipolar and BPD because of the episode length, but because also with bipolar impulsivity, because BPD also has a symptom of impulsivity. But with bipolar impulsivity, for me, it generally looks like spending large amounts of money. If I go out, I'm a bit irresponsible with drinking. I smoke a lot. Like, I do smoke in general, but I smoke way more, like, ridiculous amounts. I do other risky activities like driving not at the speed limit, driving recklessly, having my music up really loud in the car, not even paying attention to where I'm driving, like just driving around for no reason. Whereas with BPD, when I'm impulsive, it's like unaliving thoughts, urges, self-harm, wanting to self-destruct and be impulsive in that way. So I can differentiate because it's coming from a place, BPD for me, it's coming from a place of being self-destructive because I can't deal with my emotions and my feelings and all the different moods that are going on and the anger outbursts and the severe sadness and then the bad anxiety. Like, it's just all too much. And I use those things to cope. Whereas with bipolar, I am out of control, but it's because I'm super manic and I'm on like this frenzy, like this high, and my brain's going a million miles per hour, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to I'm not thinking, things through, I'm not sleeping, you know, things like that. With BPD, like sleep isn't on the criteria either, so that's another difference. So with bipolar, you have to have like sleep disturbances, either sleeping too much or not sleeping at all. So like when you're hypomanic or manic, you don't sleep very well. Like, I haven't been sleeping very well. I've been very awake at night, waking up heaps, waking up like 6 o'clock in the morning without an alarm. Whereas normally I get up at like 8 with an alarm. So all of these things I can tell that I'm in an episode. But if I'm really manic, then I can't, generally. That's when it gets out of control and I have not much insight. But I know it looks like I have a bunch of insight now, but this is literally because I've researched stuff, I've watched videos on YouTube, I've talked to other people who have these illnesses, I've done a cert for mental health peer work, I'm on different committees for mental health through the Queensland government. I interact with people with different mental illnesses all the time. I've been in hospital so many times, so I've witnessed other people's experiences and what their symptoms. I am also quite a self-aware person. I've been told that by a lot of professionals. Sometimes it gets quite irritating because I'm like, yeah, just because I'm self-aware doesn't mean that I know how to solve the problem or fix it. I'm still struggling, I'm still suffering. So it can be a little bit annoying at sometimes. But yeah, I think basically the main differences, like I said, between the two disorders are the length of time that you're experiencing the symptoms. Also with the BPD aspect, it's very much, I feel like it's more self-destructive and very, a little bit more like purposeful with like your actions at yourself that are negative. Whereas with bipolar, like you're really out of control there. Like, you don't have control over those impulses and you think it's a really great idea, or you just want to go and have fun. You know, like I went to church this morning and I woke up at like 6, cleaned the kitchen. I couldn't vacuum because everyone was sleeping. I wanted to clean everything. That's another thing where I know I'm hypomanic, is because I clean like a lot and reorganize. And then I get halfway through the task and I'm like, crap, what have I done? I don't want to finish this task. I want to do something else. And then things just become a mess. But, yeah, like, and then I didn't sleep much at all last night. I was up a lot. Really didn't sleep. And I haven't spent a bunch of money because I'm aware now that that's what I do when I'm hypomanic or manic. So I have put in place things to stop me from doing that. So, and I've got people around me that as soon as I say I'm hypomanic, or as soon as they realize, they go, okay, what can we do to avoid you spending your money on things? So for me, that's having a locked savings account. That's a joint account with my mum. So I can't withdraw money unless we both go into the bank and sign something. So that has been the only way that I've prevented me from spending large amounts of money. There is still Afterpay, which does get me when I'm manic. I have gotten into trouble with that, where I've spent a large amount of money on Afterpay, and been stuck later on having to pay it back because I bought a bunch of dumb stuff. But I hope that you can kind of see the difference between the bipolar and the BPD. And as someone who lives with both of them, I would know how, before I was medicated, like, it was a mess. It would be all over the place. I had no clue what was BPD. I had no clue what was bipolar. I would, generally with bipolar, what happens is, this is what's happened to me even again in the last 4 days. This happens every time. You think I would know, but I don't. This is where I do lack insight, is that I think, oh, maybe like I'm just not depressed and I'm just like normal now, and I'm just having a normal happiness. Like, maybe this is like normal happiness. Like, is this normal happiness? Like, what is normal happiness? You know what I mean? And I'll be like questioning, like, is this like hypomania or mania? Like, is this like over the top? Am I like being ridiculously happy? And I have to ask other people and question them and be like, well, what is kind of like a baseline for like the general person? And I know that's hard to like pick up on, but like, people who don't have a mental illness generally do have a bit of a more stable baseline than someone who has one. That's just my opinion, but I know there's some people out there who don't have mental illnesses that are pretty unstable, but I feel like for the most part, people have a bit of a stable, well, from what I've observed with my family members and stuff who don't live with mental illnesses, especially like severe ones like schizoaffective disorder, it's like they don't get the extreme mood episodes that come with BPD and that come with bipolar. So anyway, that was a long-winded explanation. I'm going to put up on the screen symptoms of bipolar. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I'll have to put too many slides up. Basically, if you want to know, this is me being a bad YouTuber, but whatever. If you want to know more about bipolar versus BPD, just Google it and look at the symptoms of BPD and then look at the symptoms of bipolar and compare it. If you are questioning whether you have one of these illnesses, go talk to a psychiatrist, go talk to a psychologist, get someone to assess you who's medically trained, go to your doctor. It's really important that you catch these things early, because like, I've had bipolar since I was 14 and it wasn't diagnosed until I was 19. And then the schizoaffective disorder wasn't diagnosed until 2022. And I probably had schizoaffective disorder before that. I just wasn't diagnosed with the right thing. So make sure that you do get a diagnosis, because it's very important to get medication and to get therapy tools to help you deal with stuff, learn to manage it, learn to know your warning signs. When I was first diagnosed, that's what they did. They kind of taught me like early warning signs. The BPD, they really didn't do anything to help me. I had to kind of do DBT therapy later on. But bipolar is generally treated more just with medication, because it's more of a chemical brain thing going on. Whereas, and also like TMS can be used, like transcranial magnetic stimulation. TMS, yes, that's the word. Then you've got the BPD, which is you can treat it with mood stabilizers and things like that, but DBT is often like the therapy that's recommended because it was created by Marsha Linehan for people with BPD. So I hope this kind of explained it. If you have any questions that I need to further explain or in further explanation, I will comment with some resources or I will answer the question the best I can. But like I said, I'm not a medical professional. So I hope you found this helpful and you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and go to my Instagram, and I will see you in my next video.